Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Minds podcast. My name is Chris Chapman, and I am your host. If this is your first time tuning in, then this is a podcast dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their business, personal, or career life. With this show, I have a goal and a vision to impact over 1 million people, and I help get closer and closer to that goal by interviewing entrepreneurs, founders, content creators, or just movers and shakers in their industries, and really walking through their story of how they have gotten from point A to point B and overcame various adversities along the way. Because I know for me, I'll look at successful people and I'll ask myself, what did they do to get from A to B? This podcast really breaks down those stories and those perspectives. With this podcast, we also do a Motivation Monday series where I'll just chat solo about personal development related topics. So we've done ones on perspective, we've done ones on mindset, we've done them on finances, on goal setting, on habits, on morning routines. You can go back and listen. There's about probably 30 to 40 different Motivational Monday episodes. But before we dive into this week's episode, which is part of our Motivation Monday series, I just want to encourage you all to share this show with a family member, friend, or a colleague who you think will really get some value out of it. I'd love to encourage you to make a review of the Next Level Minds podcast just so this can continue ranking higher and higher on the category of business. And last thing I wanted to mention is that Next Level Minds also has a newsletter that was launched a few months ago. Right now, we're coming out on a monthly basis, really helping people reach a next level in faith, family, fitness, finances, and the American freedoms that we have in this great country. So if you'd like to subscribe to that newsletter and you want to get better in those areas of your life, the link to subscribe will be in the show notes of the episode. Other than that, would love to go ahead and dive into this week's Motivation Monday episode. And what we're going to be talking about, as you saw from the title of the episode, is how to finish 2024 and start 2025. The reason that I wanted to start this topic is because a lot of people, including the past version of myself, will choose the time from Thanksgiving to the end of the year really as an excuse to slack off and an excuse to really drop the habits, routines, and behaviors that got them to the point that they are right now in life. And I talk to a lot of people every day, and it seems like there's this just weird energy in the air of, hey, I'll pick it up in January. I'm just going to coast through the end of the year, hope for the best going into 2025, right? And speaking from the perspective of being in that mindset about 4 years ago, and for the last 3+ years now being in that mindset that I'm going to talk about today of doubling down on the habits, routines, and behaviors, finishing 2024 strong, and then putting an aggressive amount of time, preparation, and effort into making sure you have a 2025 year that you're proud of. Trust me, you will be much happier going this route, because I've done both, as I just mentioned. And when I've done these things that I'm about to tell you, not only is my current year significantly better, but my upcoming future year is significantly better as well, right? And right now is what we call separation season, right? A way to not only separate yourself from your competition, but really a way to separate yourself from the older version of you, right? And that separation happens from locking in over the next few weeks, right? Doing the opposite of what average people are doing, right? People are dropping their diet, dropping their routines, dropping their behaviors, dropping all of the great things that they know they should be doing. But if you want to be great in life, which I assume you do, or else you probably wouldn't be listening to the Next Level Minds podcast, then it's important to double down on the right habits, routines, and behaviors, right? People are skipping the gym, you go to the gym. People are asking off for weeks at a time at work, you get to work and you make money for you and your family. People are, eating sweets every night for the week of Christmas. Sure, enjoy a couple things or two with the family, right? But then you pick that back up and you keep going, right? So many stories of what to do and what to not do, right? But I'd love to go ahead and dive in deeper into how I like to finish a year, right? So first thing I do is throughout the next few weeks, I'm recording this December 10th, right? Throughout the next few weeks, I will aggressively review my yearly goals. When I say aggressively, meaning like I'll probably block off at least an hour to look at my yearly goals. And if I'm still behind in a few of them, then I will create an urgent plan of what I can do in the next, 2 to 3 weeks to accomplish these goals in the short time frame that I have left. So let's say that one of my goals is to be weighing over 170 pounds because I've always been around like the 165 range, work out all the time, right? But it's been super hard for me to gain weight. My goal this year is to be above 170 pounds with 10 to 12% body fat. Right now, I'm like 172. I have put on a lot of muscle this year through protein intake, hitting the gym harder, right? But I'm like 12.5% body fat, right? So I'm like right above the goal that I want. So in this situation, I'm creating an urgent plan to get to that 12% level because I'm already above the 170, right? I've been like 163 to 165 for the last 2 years. This year I've packed on fluctuation, right? But anywhere between like 5 and 10 pounds of muscle, depending on the week. But again, 12.5% body fat. So how can I get to that 12, right? I'm making a plan to drop 0.5% body fat, and that's more cardio, right? Like incline walking, stair step. I do love running on the weekends, but maybe doing a couple more runs throughout the week, more protein and lower carbs, right? So like locking in with that protein goal, cutting out breads and different carbs that like I don't need to be eating, right? Like do this with your goals, right? And it could be financially. All right, well, my goal was X and I want to hit Y. So what can I do to actually hit that particular goal? And asking yourself these questions and creating a plan around the areas that you're short in. Then I spend some time in this goal review looking back at my wins and extracting the learning lessons behind them, right? And I think this is equally as important to do because what you don't want to do is just get hung up on all the areas with your goals that you fell short. And then ultimately what's going to happen is you'll just be bummed out going into 2025, right? So I like to have positive momentum. I like to have a positive mindset when it comes to my goals. So I'll look back at my wins and I'll ask myself some questions like, hey, what did I do well? What skills allowed me to hit this win? How can I replicate some of these skills going into the new year? And with these wins, although I'm very proud of them, what could I have done better to even have a bigger win, right? If I made X amount of money this year, like, oh, great, this is a win. This was my goal. Achieve that goal, but what could I have done better to maybe make even more money than I did, or even gain more muscle than I did, or insert goal that you accomplished here, right? So what did I do well? What skills allowed me to hit this win? And what could I have done better to even have a better win? And this exercise is great because then you extract those lessons, you extract what you did, and you can replicate those things into 2025. And the last thing I'll do when it comes to just reviewing my 2024 goals, in this case, over the next couple weeks, is just being proud, right? Like spending some time looking at what I've accomplished from January 1st to what are we recording right now on December 10th. So, right at almost a full calendar year, looking back and just simply being proud and grateful with the achievements. I know if you're listening to this show, you're very driven, you're very motivated. You are probably just like me where you're go, 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 go. You want to accomplish big things, but if you do that for too long, I do think burnout could happen, right? So a good way to combat that is by just being grateful for what you've been able to accomplish, right? And what does that look like for me? Well, that could be maybe printing out my wins that I've typed up, or that could be writing them in my notes folder, just going on a walk somewhere nice with a view and honestly looking at those winds, being a person of faith, praying about it, being like, hey, thank you, God, for opening up these doors and opportunities for me and giving me the courage to actually take action on these things, right? And then spending some time in reflection and then, boom, getting back to it and trying to accomplish even more than I already have. So that's how I like to wrap up 2024. But how do I like to start the new year? Well, just like I'm spending some time in reflection and creating some urgent plans, starting the new year doesn't start January 1st. This new year prep starts right now as we are recording December 10th. I started my 2025 prep like December 3rd or 4th, right? So I've kind of been in this mindset of let's close out 2024. Let's make it a strong year. Let's urgently make a plan for the areas that I may be lacking in or the goals that I haven't quite reached yet. And then let's spend time planning so I can execute aggressively going into 2025. So first thing I do when it comes to starting a new year is I start visualizing what I want my life to look like during this time next year, and then I work backwards from that vision. So like I've spent some time doing this already, right? December 8th, 9th, 10th kind of time frame I started doing this. And I'm visualizing, okay, if I'm looking at December, 8th, 9th, 10th kind of time frame, this time next year, what do I want my life to look like, right? Like how much money do I want to have in my bank account? How much money do I want to have in retirement? What kind of house do I want to be in? What kind of car do I want to be driving? And then even at a deeper level than those material things, right? Like what level of happiness do I want to have? What level of fulfillment do I want to have? Who do I want to be surrounded with from a friends and family perspective? What do I want my relationship with Jesus to look like, right? Like visualizing exactly what I want my life to look like a year from now. And then really working backwards from that vision. So for me, I personally compartmentalize my life into some main areas, right? I have career and business. Then I have mental health, right? These are things related to like reading books, certain amount of podcasts, listening to, etc. Physical health obviously speaks for itself. Spiritual health, financial health, goals with the Next Level Minds podcast, and then goals in my personal life, right? This could be like relationship focused with my wife, or it could be like travel, different things with the family, right? So career and / business, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health, Next Level Minds podcast, because that's my side hustle, side business, and then personal goals. So 7 compartmentalized areas. And then after doing that visualization exercise with those 7 main areas, I will then roughly write out where I want to be in those areas during this time next year. So I brought it from my mind, from a visualization imagery perspective, to now rough draft writing, pen to paper. Okay, where do I want to be in my career / business? Where do I want to be with my physical health? Where do I want to be with my spiritual health and the relationship with the Lord? Where do I want to be in my personal life and my relationship? Where do I want the podcast to be? And I'll write down kind of where I want those areas of my life to look like, and I'll kind of reflect on that, right? And then after doing some reflection on these rough draft things that I've written down, I'll finally actually put these like full pen to paper, because studies show that if you write down your goals, you'll have a much higher likelihood of actually accomplishing those goals. So it goes visualization, compartmentalize, roughly write out where you want to be in those compartmentalized areas, and then actually finalize that rough draft by fully putting that pen to paper, writing it down. And then what I'll do is write out a plan for each goal, right? These plans don't have to be super elaborate. Learning lesson here is I did this exercise in I think 2021 or 2022, and I wrote out plans for my goals, but they were like way too elaborate. Like each plan was almost like a page, and then I'm like, what am I supposed to do again, right? So learning lesson, when you write down these plans for each goals, stick to 3 to 5 bullet points outlining how I will tackle each goal, right? So an example could look like, in my case, this year, get a noticeable 6-pack, right? And kind of the bullet points behind that is work out abs 2 times a week while also maintaining your normal fitness routine of lifting 5 times a week and running 1 to 2 times a week. eat clean and lean, limit drinking alcohol to 1 to 2 times a week at most. And then I keep up incline walking because I try to do that every day, and then weekend runs, right? So this is kind of the framework and system as to how I will accomplish that goal. So I'll do that for every single one of my yearly goals. Like 2024, I have I think 25 different goals written out, and that's combined with the 7 compartmentalized areas. So, roughly about 3 to 4 each. And under each one of those goals, I have 3 to 5 different bullet points of kind of the action steps behind that. I'll also review these plans on a weekly basis. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I usually post my Sunday checklist on Sunday, which basically is just a combination of things that I do on Sunday to help me plan, prepare, and prioritize for the week ahead. And during my Sunday checklist, I'll spend probably roughly about 15, 20 minutes reviewing my goals with the plans that I've attached to them, just to make sure that I'm on track, right? Going back to that 6-pack one, if I'm looking over my Sunday checklist and looking over my plans for this goal of get a noticeable 6-pack, and I'm like, work out abs 2 times a week. Looks like this last week I only did it 1 time. Or, keep up the incline walking. It's like, I only did that twice this week, right? So I love going back on Sunday and personally reflecting on this, because I think it gives you the opportunity to pivot direction when you need. And if you see yourself not adhering to the system that you've set up for yourself of how you are actually going to achieve this goal, then you can adjust course as necessary. And it just allows you to make sure that you're actually staying on the right direction. Because I talk to a lot of people about their goals, right? Like, that's part of the Next Level Minds company and brand. It's helping people reach their goals. Talk to a lot of people around October, November, December timeframe, and they're like, man, I'm so behind in this goal and this goal and this goal. Well, if you have a plan around that goal, you're constantly looking at that plan, constantly going to stay on track, right? Just like if you're driving somewhere new and you're looking at a map. If you're looking at a map, you'll get to that destination. But if you take your eyes off the map, if you're like me, you're going to get lost. So keep your eyes on the map, keep your eyes on that plan, keep being locked in. And then the last couple things I do is I'll do a deep review. So I'll spend an hour looking at the pen to paper goals and the plans and saying, all right, do we need any final tweaks? And if not, boom, good to go. And if so, what can I tweak, right? Because you need to make sure that these goals are actually your goals, not goals that you've created because society wants you to achieve these things or your family wants you to achieve these things. Are these goals truly your goals, or are they just reflections of what you think people want out of you, right? And so I would encourage you to do that deep review. And then lastly is I print out those goals, and then I have them hung up in a spot that I can see every single day. So my short-term, midterm, long-term goals, my affirmations, and my 2024 goals are all hung up in my office right by my door that I walk in and out of. So every time I walk in, I see the goals. Every time I walk out, I see the goals. And what this allows you to do is just constantly put those goals deep into your subconscious mind so that you act in alignment with those goals. And then the last 2 things I do with this, and I'll recap my 2025 planning in a little bit because I know it's a lot. That's why I'm starting now. But the last 2 things I do is I write down why I want to accomplish these goals. So why I want to make this type of money, why I want to be at this certain weight, why I want this 6-pack, why I want my Next Level Minds podcast to reach this many listeners, why I want to do this, and this. Because your why is what's going to drive you in life, and it's what's going to keep you disciplined, and it's what's going to allow you to just keep going, especially on those tough days when you can remember that, hey, the reason why you have this financial goal is so that you can build generational wealth for your family. The reason why you have this goal of a 6-pack is so that you can set the example of what it means to live a disciplined, driven, and a life filled with high standards so that you can positively impact others with the way in which you are successful, right? So you're writing down a why behind your goals, and that why is going to drive you to succeed. And then lastly, I'll send my goals to a few close friends and mentors so that they'll hold me accountable. Because you have to stay accountable to yourself, right? That's the most important thing. But trust me, if I get a random text from a friend that's like, hey, let's say it's August. Hey, a few months left of the year, summer's winding down, was looking over your goals. You said you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. How's that going? That's instantly going to put me back into gear because somebody's holding me accountable. And again, the last thing to remember here is that a great year starts with you. Planning out your goals and writing out the how and the why behind these goals, right? Like, you have one life, and it's very important to make sure that you're acting in alignment with truly how you want to live with your ideal life. So I'll recap start of the year, what I like to do, visualize what I want my life to look like. I then compartmentalize the main areas. Again, that's career, business, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health, Next Level Minds podcast, and my personal goals. I then write a rough draft of where I'd like to be in these areas. Then I'll write it out, a plan for each goal. So, okay, what's the plan to achieve X, Y, and Z? 3 to 5 bullet points. I then on Sundays review these plans on a weekly basis as part of my Sunday checklist. I do that deep review to make sure these goals and these plans, is this truly what I want for the year? Print these goals and put them in a spot where I can read them every day. For example, I have them in my office. I also have them saved on my phone. I probably look at my goals at least 10 times a day when you combine walking in and out of my office and looking at my phone. I then write down why I want to accomplish these goals. Lastly, I'll send these to a few close friends and mentors. If you'd like help with any of this goal planning, these are things obviously I'm extremely passionate about. If you've been listening and following me for a while, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at ChrisChapChap. I'd love to help you out. But otherwise, hope you all have a fantastic finish to 2024 and hope you guys have an even better start and an even better 2025 year. Again, it all starts with planning. It all starts with preparation. It all starts with prioritizing what you want. And then it's actually taking action and executing on those things that you want out of life. Be sure to subscribe to Next Level Minds, guys. Be sure to sign up for the Next Level Minds newsletter if you want some more content to help you reach the next level. Again, DM me on Instagram, ChrisChapChap, if I can help. Hope everybody has a fantastic week ahead, a fantastic finish to the year, and thank you all for listening.